Welcome to the TV show that is my life, where we only get one new episode every year. This year, the TV show is the X Factor Extreme Edition, where we make the world's best musicians work for 5 years straight and see who dies of alcoholism or starvation first. Do you have what it takes? So I've recently started working at a movie theater, and every white woman under the age of 30 is going to see the new Don't Worry Darling movie, only to be utterly disappointed that it isn't as entertaining as the Twitter replies about the movie from last month. That being said, while I don't know how I feel about Harry Styles the actor, I've been a fan of Harry Styles the musician for quite some time now, and I thought it would be fun to listen to every track he has made as a solo artist to see how all the songs stack up and see which ones I like and dislike the most. And what better way to do that than with a tier list, because this is youtube.com, baby! Love tier lists on youtube.com. In the F tier, we have Simone Cowbell. Pretty self-explanatory right there. The D tier is going to be called Still Working at the Bakery. In case you guys didn't know, there's a bit of Harry Styles lore for you. He used to work at a bakery, actually.
I work in a bakery.
So any song that fits in this tier is really, it's a step above Simone Cowbell, but it's still like didn't make it to the big time, you know, didn't have that chance on the X Factor to get out of the bakery career. So they're still there, just wasting away, needing dough. C tier has been given the name freeze-dried fruit. Okay, so our friend Harry Styles, he's a big fan of fruit, calling songs by the names of fruit, kiwi, strawberries, cherries, the like. For me, fruit that has been freeze-dried is just the embodiment of mid-tier, you know, like it's got a good taste to it, but the texture is a little bit, it's like crunchy in a way that it's not supposed to be, and then it gets stuck in your teeth. It's fine, it's okay food, but it's just kind of a mediocre experience, like listening to a song that belongs in a C tier. The B tier is going by the name Carpool Karaoke. Now, if you're on youtube.com, you know what Carpool Karaoke is, and it's something that, you know, it's fine, it serves a purpose, you know, you understand why it's so enjoyable to people, but it's also understandable if it's, you know, not your best British cup of tea and it, you know, got on Tuesday. And now we're getting into the good stuff. The A tier is going to be named Extravagant Jumpsuit, okay? Because Harry Styles and Harry Styles fans love extravagant jumpsuits, you know? It's not the best thing in the world. Sometimes if the colors or the fabrics aren't hitting right, it might be a step below that S tier, but it's still quite nice. And finally, the best of the best, in the S tier, we have the name 2015 Hair. Meet Me in the Hallway is an okay song. I really like the chorus way more than I like the verses. The verses seem a little bit repetitive, but just the hook, gotta get better, really enjoyable. So it's a song that like I'm okay listening to, but I might skip through the verses just to get to the good part. Freeze-dried fruit. Just stop your crying, it's a sign of the time. I'm not gonna lie, it feels a little odd to start on a high note, but I think we're just gonna have to do this right now. Sign of the Times, his first single, a 6-minute rock ballad, not even 5 years later, and he doesn't sing any of the high notes live anymore, which kind of sucks, but in the recording, it sounds absolutely angelic. After the monstrous success of One Direction doing basic pop songs, it's a pretty bold statement to open up your solo career with a song like this, so it's pretty commendable in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie when I say that this song feels like one of the more forgettable songs from the first album. It has a very fun, like, upbeat nature to it, you know, like the little, like, group chant, oh yeah! Instrumentally, it's pretty strong, but I just don't know how I feel about, like, the she's a good girl, she feels so good, like, and also, I have an affinity against songs where you use the la 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 background vocal. I don't know what I have against la la la's, but it just really sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I'm likely going to be creating some conflict with the Harry Styles fan base by doing this, but I think Carolina is probably still working at the bakery. We're not who we used to be. So this first album seems to be a mix of two different genres, which is the kind of soft, acoustic, almost country folk-like stuff like this on Two Ghosts, as well as I would almost describe it as road trip rock. Two Ghosts, in my opinion, is an example of that acoustic sound being done really, really well. From a songwriting perspective, it's pretty interesting how he uses that lyric, trying to remember how it feels to have a heartbeat, and he kind of uses that like the heartbeat, it literally skips a beat in one of the choruses. I would say Two Ghosts is a carpool karaoke song. It's pretty good. I understand if it's not your taste, but I like it. Sweet creature. Another example of Harry's voice fitting into that acoustic, very raw sound beautifully. This is the most kind of sparse production we've seen on this album. And honestly, it's hard for me to separate that guitar like riff from Blackbird by the Beatles. It just sounds so similar. It's like my mind is always trailing to that. It's a really sweet little tune, but I'm gonna put it under the same tier as Two Ghosts, under carpool karaoke. Okay, this song, I have a gripe with the track listing in terms of where this song is ordered with the other ones, because this ethereal, really long intro feels like it should be right next to the end of Sign of the Times. It still has that same piano bit. It has that sound effect that sounds like wind. It's okay that that intro feels very disjointed from the rest of this song, but it comes after like 3 or 4 different tracks that aren't connected to it at all. And also, when I say that a lot of this first album sounds like road trip rock, this is an example of what I mean. This song, it's like, it's a rock song, there's a lot of energy in it, and there's guitars, drums, it's all doing it, but it's like, it's not like punk. It's not like, it's a different type of energy that isn't very angry as much as it is playful. It serves a purpose, and it's a really fun song, the little wee. It's all very fun, but I'm gonna put it under freeze-dried fruit just because it feels very, very meh to me. Don't get angry at me. The Harry fans love Kiwi. I know that they love this song so much, and I love this song too. But it's another example of road trip rock. It's not the same kind of energy that I'm looking for in other songs where the production is much more messy, and there's a sense of anger that is just it's here but in a different way. Like, it's anger in the form like you're angry because Target didn't have the scented candle that you wanted when you went there. Don't get me wrong, his vocal performance on this song is immaculate. I mean, he fits that 70s rock, blues chords, like he fits it to a T. It's just, it's freeze-dried fruit. I mean, I have to put it there. That's how I feel, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys on camera. Tell me something I don't already know. It feels a little weird to say this about a song that's so deep into the track listing, but this song feels like it is exactly what they were going for with this first album. A mix of acoustic, very sullen kind of emotional music mixed with some 70s angsty rock. The Venn diagram of those two genres, right in the middle of that intersection, lies Ever Since New York. And I don't know, man, I really like the vocal harmonies on it. In the live editions of when he's performed this, like, the vocals on the high parts are really clean. I think we finally have our first extravagant jumpsuit song. I can't put it in 2015 here just because it does get a little bit repetitive on that same refrain and doing that multiple times, but it's still enjoyable to listen to. This is one of the few Harry Styles songs that I just straight up don't like. If we're being real here, in the list of Harry Styles sex jams, this song, it really ranks among the lower quality ones. I've already mentioned the negative feelings I have towards the la 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 background vocal. There's that little like background duck man humping noise. I'm starting to become numb to the fact that I'm worried about how people will respond to my opinions, but it's going into Simone Cowbell. It's going there. And if you disagree, please let me know with a comment and a dislike, please. I will take your feedback into account. Final song from the first album. With myself. As a guitarist, I really think this is my favorite guitar part from this first album. It's very solemn, it's very beautifully sad. Weirdly enough, I think this needs to be switched with Sweet Creature in the fact that I think this song fits that kind of raw production aspect most. And Sweet Creature would be heightened if it had that kind of orchestral kind of build and there's more kind of strings added throughout the song as it grows. Regardless, I still really like this song. I really like the fact that it's very, intimate, very close up. It's a good song to cry to. Good song for crying. Put it here in Extravagant Jumpsuit, and there we have the very first album complete. I actually have a separate tier list that's set up for multiple albums like across the rest of this year because I'm likely going to be doing multiple videos in this same vein. So among all the music that I've listened to, I think I'm going to rank this album in the C tier. It's his first album. There's some good songs on it, but a lot of it is mid. That's how I feel. We're moving on. All right, Fine Line is Harry's first huge commercial success. He earned a Grammy for Watermelon Sugar, but first, Golden is one of my favorites from this album, so I'm going to put it in the Extravagant Jumpsuit category. Makes me feel like I should be listening to it while I'm on a highway with the windows down with my best friends, like watching the sunset slowly go down. It's a very enjoyable listen. It makes me feel oh so golden. If you're looking for a sex song that's better than Woman, here it is. Watermelon Sugar is a good, well-crafted pop song. It's once again very fruity, very thematic with Harry's brand. It's honestly one of those songs that I've heard it so much in areas where I just don't want to be listening to that kind of sex music. Just in the playlists of local businesses, top 40 radio. Of the songs on this album, this is one that I don't come back to as often as the other ones, but in some way or another, it just ends up coming back to me. I'm at a crossroads between Carpool Karaoke and Freeze Dried Fruit, so I'm just gonna even it out with 3 for each and put this in Carpool Karaoke. Good song, sets the tone for the rest of the album. It's all right. It's all right. Adore You somewhat suffers the same kind of overtaking from the corporate underlords. It suffers that same syndrome as Watermelon Sugar, but I still almost like it more than that song. In the months before the pandemic hit, when this album first dropped, I remember Adore You playing all the time when I worked at a Craig's Cruisers, which is in Michigan. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a mix between an arcade and a go-kart arena. Fun job, really, really fun work. I'm going to put this one also in Extravagant Jumpsuit, just because it's one of the singles, it's one of the better songs. I like it more than Watermelon Sugar, so I'm going to put it one above that. For a while, my brain sort of slotted this tune as Adore You Part 2, just because I found the two really similar. But upon re-listen, I really like this song in its own right. I really like that kind of pre-chorus Mario cadence, where it's like major 6, major 7, major 1 chord. The swirly kind of chorus effect on the vocals really fits the psychedelia on this record. I might have to do a little switcheroo here because I feel like this song deserves to be in Carpool Karaoke, but I also like this song more than Watermelon Sugar. Sorry, Watermelon Sugar, we're demoting you to Freeze Dried Fruit. It's just the corporate overlords. Don't you call him what you used to call me. Yeah, so this song is where the album kind of shifts from that upbeat pop song route to the more solemn singer-songwriter, smooth music. I always thought that kind of bridge section where it just kind of drops all the instruments and just takes it to his voice, where it's like, does he take you walking around his parents' gallery? Felt very disjointed and didn't kind of flow as smoothly into the next section as I would have wanted it to in this song. I'm gonna put Cherry right next to Watermelon Sugar. It's freeze-dried cherries. Another simplistic ballad on this album in the form of Falling. I remember reading a comment on one of his live performances of this where he made this song just to get rid of all the search results of him falling on stage over the years. Which, if that is true, I find hilarious. It's a very basic song, basic chords. I've seen on YouTube there's a mashup with this song and an Ed Sheeran song. I'm gonna put Falling in Carpool Karaoke. And the music video is beautifully done with like the water on the piano and everything. We We have some lovely string instrumentation from the one and only Mitch of Harry's band. That ukulele part is very, very unique. It stands out. This is a song that's enjoyable to like listen to, but it's not one that I usually like sing along to, you know? Like, it's not very memorable melody-wise besides that arrogant son of a bitch line. It's good. It fits within the track listing very well, fits the aesthetic of the entire album. It feels wrong to put it in freeze-dried fruit because I like it more than just calling it like an average, like meh, mediocre song. I'm gonna put it in carpool karaoke, but it's like a low carpool karaoke. Like, it just barely makes the cut for that B tier. If we're talking about Fine Line being a psychedelic record, this song right here, epitome of psychedelia. Backwards vocals, guitar tones, the like, it's all there. Similar to Be So Lonely, this is a song that I enjoy listening to within the context of the track listing, but I never go out of my way to like add this to a playlist and have it on shuffle or anything like that. It's a really long song. Good intoxication music. Of all the songs to listen to while you're not sober, this is one that is a pretty good choice. I'm gonna put this one in freeze-dried fruit just because it's a good song. But among the other really great songs on this record, it's one that isn't as memorable. Get to know you, sunflowers. More music made on mushrooms. Whenever I listen to this song, I'm left with one question, and that is, where are the other 5 volumes of Sunflower? In all seriousness, I actually really like this tune. It's pretty fun. It's very lighthearted, you know, the really sped up guitar lines in the background really fit that aesthetic. Very beautiful vocal harmonies. I think this one fits very snugly into the carpool karaoke tier. Time under the canyon moon. In all honesty, I think this is probably one of the weaker songs on Fine Line. It feels like it should be like overlaid with B-roll of like a van driving into the distance in like a road trip movie. It's fun, it's very happy, lighthearted, but in comparison to the incredibly strong first half of this album, it just doesn't match up. So I'm gonna put Canyon Moon as still working at the bakery, making some canyon croissants, possibly. For such a good message to have in a song, it feels wrong to dislike the actual song. But I just do. It reminds me of the song, like the Celebrate Good Times Come On song, but like not in a good way. You know, this is like the perfect song to be made for a Kids Bop album. I like that middle section with like the if we're here long enough, we'll sing the song. That's one of the brighter spots in this track, but that main refrain with the chorus and the drum, for the message and for that middle section, I'll put this at still working at the bakery, but it's on thin ice. After a kind of mediocre second half of this record, I'm really glad that it goes out on a high note with a really strong finish. Fine Line is a track that really grows, it really builds over time. I really like the syncopated drums that come in this outro, as well as, you know, the big instrumentation that makes everything feel very grand as the outro of this album is kind of completed. Fine Line is Fine Line is S tier, 2015 hair. That being said, I do like Fine Line more than I enjoy the first album from Harry Styles. I think I'm gonna put Fine Line in B tier because it's a decent album. There's a lot of good tracks on there, but there also are some skippable tracks if I'm just going for the hits. Definitely an improvement from his debut album though. We're up to his most recent album, Harry's House, so I'll try to keep any recency bias out of this tier list just because this has been the album that I've been streaming the most this year. But that should not be an issue for this first track, Music for a Sushi Restaurant. In the great year of 2022, it feels like Apple commercial music is almost its own genre now. The trumpets feel a tad corny to me. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy some scatting here and there. I might have to put this one in Simone Cowbell just because, I don't know, man, it's just one of the weaker songs on this record. It's one of his weaker songs overall. I definitely like it less than I like Canyon Moon and Treat People with Kindness. We've been doing all this late night talking. Now, Now, in terms of album intros, I think this song sets the tone for the style of synth pop that Harry's going for way better than the Sushi song does. Still not quite sure how I feel about that pre-chorus with the very kind of wonky synth behind Harry's voice, but the vocals, the harmonies are very warm and lush. I think Late Night Talking is deserving of Carpool Karaoke. It's pretty good, not the best, not the worst. It isn't a Harry Styles album if there aren't fruit references in the mix. Grape Juice is a song that I like the instrumental and production of, but not as much the melody. Harry's voice sounds good, it just feels like it needs to be more climactic than it actually is. It's an enjoyable song, and I like the kind of dirty guitar tone that's in the background. For me, it feels very mid-tier. Freeze-dried fruit, freeze-dried grape juice, you know. It's good to keep them fresh if you want your grapes to last longer. Put them in the freezer. Or wouldn't they technically be raisins if they're freeze-dried? I'm getting off topic. You know, it's not the same as it was. Yes, the chart-topping smash hit as it was. It's a pretty good song. It's got a good hook to it. It's very bittersweet sounding, but you can still play it and like feel happy and like party with your friends while listening to it. My younger sister hates that sample that plays at the beginning of that song. She just hates it so much, and she's been very explicit in telling me that every time we listen to it together. I personally am indifferent about the sample just because it's like 2 seconds of the song. I think As It Was, from a quality perspective, sits in the same kind of tier as Late Night Talking, where it's pretty good, Carpool Karaoke worthy. If Harry ever does another Carpool Karaoke before James Corden retires, this song is likely to show up. Yes, I love this song! Daylight is not a very unique song name. There are a lot of pop songs called Daylight. That being said, of the songs called Daylight, this might possibly be my favorite. Part of me wants to drop $500 just so I can hear this song played live. The instrumental energy in this song is like a better, updated, futuristic version of Kiwi, in my opinion. Very catchy, you can sing along to it. I think this is worthy of an extravagant jumpsuit. Little Freak. I feel a little bit indifferent about Little Freak just because from a lyrical perspective, he definitely paints a picture very clearly with the descriptive kind of imagery. That being said, I'm not sure I vibe with this one to the same degree that I vibe with some of the other somewhat slower kind of singer-songwriter lyricism-based songs that are on this album. Little Freak is probably still working at the bakery, but like in a way where they're saving up for a college degree and trying to better themselves in the world. You know, it's like an upper echelon of working at the bakery. You can let it go. Matilda carries a very sweet, like, loving sentiment for anybody listening that has, like, grown up in a broken home of any kind, wants to break out of the kind of unhealthy environment that they've grown up in. Since Harry attracts a largely queer fan base, it makes sense to kind of make a song sending that comforting message to the people listening, saying, hey, it's okay, you know, it's understandable if you need to separate yourself from people that aren't healthy to be around, and it's okay to surround yourself with people that do support you and understand who you are. Maybe it could have done more from an instrumental production standpoint, but I'm not mad at it for not having as much to offer in that vein. I'm gonna put it in Freeze-Dried Fruit just because it's not the greatest song in the world, but it is wholesome, and I appreciate that. You got the cinema. I saw a meme with this song that had a reaction of Unis Anas saying, this is literal porn. This is pornography. I love the guitar tone and that riff on this song. It's very, very sexy, it's very groovy. Harry pulls off some of the greatest vocal lines I've ever heard from him in this track, and they're like kind of washed out in the background with some reverb. That kind of tone with like that scream singing up in his higher register, it's very, very pleasing, and it's very fitting in this song. It really serves the right purpose. From a lyrical standpoint, it's not as strong as some of the other songs on this record, but I can't fault it for that because it really is all about the vibes when you're making sex jams. I'll put this in the Carpool Karaoke tier, even though you probably shouldn't be driving for the stuff you might be doing while listening to this song. You don't want to be a hazard on the road, you know? My man that Harry was obsessed with the daytime during the making of this record. He's got daylight, and now we have daydreaming. Daydreaming feels like the mall. Feels like it should be playing in a mall. I don't know exactly what that means, but it doesn't have the same feeling as some of the other songs on this record. I don't know, it just feels repetitive in a way that, like, after the second or third cycle, like, I'm kind of done with it. I hate to do this, but I think Daydreaming is gonna be in Simone Cowbell, because music for a sushi restaurant, for me, like, it's like equal to Daydreaming. Like, the two are kind of on the same wavelength. I would ask, should we just keep driving? In the same way that I thought Adore You and Lights Up were the same song for a while, for me, Little Freak and Keep Driving are like connected. Except I think Keep Driving is a better version of Little Freak. I think the sonic landscape created in Keep Driving very much fits the kind of like, oh, it's nighttime, all you can see is in front of your headlights. I'm gonna put it in Freeze-Dried Fruit to match the fact that I feel it's one notch above Little Freak. Round and round, satellite. This might possibly be either tied with Daylight or my favorite track on the entire album, which makes me question, why is it so late in the track listing? This song, similar to Ever Since New York on the first album, this song feels like the entirety of the Harry's House album kind of bundled into a single track, where it's kind of solemn, it has that very slow, like, sparse intro, and it goes into a more groovy chorus, and then it has a very climactic outro. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have to do it. Satellite is 2015 Hair Harry. It's my favorite track off the album, and I break my vocal cords every time I sing along to it in my car, which kind of conflicts with the fact that it's not in the carpool karaoke tier, but ignore that for a second. Boyfriends. Harry seems to reverse vocals in the intros of a lot of his songs. Of the many acoustic guitar vocal based songs that he's made, this is up there with some of my favorites. It deals with the kind of struggles that couples can have with, like, a lack of communication and, you know, secretly drinking and doing stuff like that that's a little shady around one another. But the tone of this song still kind of gives it an uplifting feeling to where there's a light at the end of the dark tunnel that is the kind of lyrics that are shown in this song. I generally enjoy it, not as much as Daylight. I think I'm gonna put it in the carpool karaoke, even though it's not very much a carpool karaoke song. It's more like a cry in your bedroom with the door closed and locked song. Baby, you're the love of my life. Last song. Love of My Life feels like a little bit of a lukewarm kind of finish to this album. Part of me wishes it didn't have this last track and it just ended with Boyfriends. It's not an awful song, like, it's perfectly fine. It's just that it almost feels like it doesn't need to be here. I'm gonna put it in Still Working at the Bakery. Oh, there we have it. That is the full tier list from start to finish. I'll likely put a screenshot of this bad boy on Twitter for the world to see and flame me for it. In the general albums tier list, I think I'm gonna put Harry's House. I think I'm gonna put Harry's House in the same tier as Fine Line. I think it's also a B tier record. Generally gets a thumbs up, but I think that there is more potential for him to go into, you know, a more alternative, not as top in the charts kind of music. Kind of returning to form and going to a similar kind of style that the first album had, but with more songwriting maturity. Please let me know if you agreed or disagreed with any of the opinions that you've seen from me in this video. We all have different, unique music tastes, and I'm interested to see whose favorite song of Harry's of all time is Music from a Sushi Restaurant, and I want to see a paragraph argument about why I'm wrong. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. My heart goes out to you, and please have a great rest of your day.